Hello, BookTube. It's Joshua here, and I just have a fairly big book haul for you because it's the month of May and there seem to be a lot of book sales going on. So, I got a lot of books. The first one of those is the new Oxford Book of English Verse. I already have a copy, it's in my room, but it's really beat up and really old. When I bought it, it was already in pretty bad condition, whereas this one is as good as new. So it's really nice to have a backup because I love that book a lot. Uh, I refer to it all the time. It's just really great. It's the one chosen and edited by Helen Gardner. Uh, and continuing with the theme of poetry, this this is the new Oxford Book of Light Verse. I don't have much experience reading light verse or humorous verse, but I I well, this could be an entry into that. I hope it's only about 200 or 300 pages, and I'm excited to get into it. It's actually chosen and edited by Kingsley Amis. Interesting. Uh, the next book is the Norton Anthology of Poetry, third edition, and I checked the publication date in the front here, and this edition was released in the 1980s. So it's pretty old. I have a newer edition. I think that was released in 2017, and well, they're both really big. But I think it'll be interesting to compare the differences between the selections in both of those. But I love the size of this thing. There's about 1,400 pages, and it has, of course, every major poet in the English language. So very exciting. Uh, the next book is The Complete Poems of Thomas Hardy. This is a Varorium edition, I think that's how you say the word. And I'm actually not sure what that means, except, well, this is a very wide copy, and it has all this information about manuscripts and stuff like that. So I assume that's what that's what it means when it says Varorium. But I don't have any other copy of Thomas Hardy. I've only heard people recite him on BookTube, or I've read a couple poems of his online. So it's really nice to have a complete copy because every time I have heard a poem by Hardy, I've really enjoyed it. So I'm happy to get this. Now, the next two books is Proust. Uh, this is in the original French language, Le Côté de Guermantes 1 and 2. And I think this translates to the Guermantes coast in English. So that would be the third volume in Proust's In Search of Lost Time. Of course, I can't quite read it in French. My reading skills aren't that developed yet, but I think I've been learning for about 10 months now, or maybe 9 months, and I'm slowly getting better, and I think this will be a good challenging way to help me improve with French. So I'm excited to read this. And of course, I love Proust. I've read Proust in the English language. I've read the first two volumes, Swan's Way, and the second one, which I can't really remember. But I've read the first two and about half of the third one, half of the Guermantes coast. So yeah, I really like Proust. I'm a big fan, even though I haven't finished his insanely long novel. Next, though, is E.M. Forster. And this is three of his novels in one book. A Room with a View, Howard's End, and Maurice. I saw this copy, and I haven't read much of E.M. Forster in general, but well, I've always wanted to get into him. I've heard of him, and when I saw this copy, this kind of nice hardcover and in good condition, and with three novels in one, I thought, okay, well, it's only $4, I'll get it. So there we go. The next is Rabelais' Gargantua and Pantagruel. This is, well, a famous French classic, of course. I've heard a lot about it, but I don't know much about it. I'll read you the back because I find it to be very interesting. Gargantua and Pantagruel stands unique among the world's literature for its robust exuberance and monstrous exaggeration. Rabelais, a monk who also qualified as a bachelor of medicine, was persecuted for was persecuted by both religious and civil authorities for its publication. As he chronicles the fantastic adventures of the two giants, a series of caricatures emerges, depicting the church hierarchy, schools and universities, theologians, lawyers, and philosophers. The impression received is of the conflict of two ages overlapping, the new age of humanism, research, and individualism, and the former one of the fixed world order of the schoolmen. So there we go. There's Rabelais. The next book is The Diaries of Samuel Pepys. This copy is titled The Concise Pepys because it's abridged into, I believe, about 800 pages. So, well, I've heard a lot about Pepys. I've heard multiple booktubers at this point talk about him, but I've never read him, and I didn't have a copy until now, of course. So I'm excited to get into him. Next is 6 books in one. It's all Anthony Trollope. This was kind of an impulsive purchase on my part because I've only read, I've only listened to one novel by Anthony Trollope, and that is Barchester Towers, and it was during the read aloud done by Steve Donahue. And I really enjoyed it, so I just figured, well, I want more Trollope, and I always see tons of these little Oxford, or mostly Oxford, paperbacks. I always see tons of them lying around in these book sales, and no one touches them. So I figured I would just grab a bunch. I'll tell you guys what titles I have here. The Small House at Allington, Phineas Finn. I think Joe Spivey just made a video about Phineas Finn. Later short stories, Family Parsonage, Nina Balatka and Linda Tressel, and lastly, Castle Richmond. If any of you watching have any recommendations out of this pile on which to read first, that would be really appreciated because I really don't know what any of that is. I don't know much of Trollope, so that would be helpful. But next is Music Through the Ages by Marion Bauer and Ethel Pazer, revised by Dr. Elizabeth E. Rogers. I believe this has been used as a textbook for music students, but in the preface they also said that it's meant for laymen, which is good because I don't understand musical notation or anything like that. But one of the things that I don't believe I've mentioned on my channel before is that I really love classical music. It's probably on par with my love of reading. So I love listening to classical music, but I would like to learn the history of music, what music is, and some more technical stuff of it. So that's what this is for. So I'm very, very excited. Next would be a biography, Mary Queen of Scots by Antonia Fraser. I believe Antonia Fraser is a very popular biographer. I've heard her name a lot, and I have heard of this book specifically on Steve Donahue's channel. I think he mentioned it in one of his some video about nonfiction. Maybe it was during Nonfiction November, but I'm really excited to get into this. I sampled the first paragraph, and I can already tell that it's going to be a very engaging read. So I'm excited. And here is a history book, Champlain's Dream. Of course, when I was 12 or so, I learned all about Champlain and the discovery of the New World and all that. And well, that was many years ago, and I don't remember most of it. So I would like to read this book and just learn more about the topic. I remember it from school, but I don't remember anything else. Like I don't remember any details, anything in depth. And so I'm just interested in the subject. This is written by David Hackett Fisher. I don't know who that is. Really, I'm not too big of a reader of history, but I would like to get into the genre more. So that's what this is for. Well, now I have 4 books that were actually found in a free library about a week ago. I found the library in question was actually in my university. And I found just these old Penguin classics, and no one seemed to be taking them, so I grabbed them. The first one here is Castiglione, the Book of a Courtier. I think I also heard about this on Steve Donahue's channel. It's an Italian Renaissance book, I know that, and I'll actually read you the back of it. When James Joyce first read The Courtier, his brother told him he had become more polite but less sincere, thus putting in a nutshell one of the striking aspects of Castiglione's famous work. Perhaps the most representative book of the Renaissance, it is a compendium of manners and ideals written by one who himself came near to the Renaissance ideals of the perfect courtier and the complete man. Written in the form of conversations between some of the most illustrious men and women of the age, it possesses, aside from its immense historical importance, some of the qualities of a delightful comedy of manners. So, that's very interesting. I also love these older versions of Penguin Classics. That they're very small, so I like their portability. The next book is Matthew Arnold, Selected Prose. I believe Matthew Arnold was a very important voice in the Victorian era. He was a critic and I believe also a poet. But I haven't read anything by him at all. So this will be very interesting to see what his prose is like, what his criticism was like. And then I have the letters of John Wilmot, Earl of Rochester. I think this edition was released by the Chicago University Press, I believe. And it's fascinating. The Earl of Rochester was a poet, and he was known for being licentious and very immoral, I believe. And well, I just want to read you a couple quotes that are collected on the back here, because what they've done is collected opinions on him from multiple centuries throughout history. For example, William Hazlitt, in Lectures on the English Poets from the year 1818, says, "His extravagant, heedless levity has a sort of passionate enthusiasm in it. His contempt for everything that others respect almost amounts to sublimity." That's pretty fascinating. Next is Lord Macaulay, The History of England. I don't know much about Lord Macaulay. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Is it Macaulay or Macaulay? I don't know. But I believe I heard about him once again from Steve Donahue's channel. It must have been a Daily Penguin video where he talked about the history of England. But, well, I don't know much else about this. I just thought it was fascinating, and yeah. And to finish things up, I have 3 massive history books, all by Will and Ariel Durant. I just found this sitting there, and I had heard a lot about this history series, and well, it just seemed fascinating. This is volume 8, 9, and 10, The Age of Louis XIV, The Age of Voltaire and Rousseau and Revolution. I don't have any of the other books in the series, so I have 8, 9, and 10, but not 1 or 2 or 3. Um, Maybe I should probably start reading with the first book, but also I have no problem just jumping in with book number 8. I feel like as long as I'm caught up as to what's happening, I can enjoy it. So, but that's all the books that I got this week. I went to 2 different book sales, and then 4 of them were just from a free library. So this week has been really wonderful in terms of book buying. And I think that's it. So thank you for watching BookTube, and goodbye.